Welcome, everybody, to episode 11 of the Channel 8 podcast. I'm your host, Sean Go, and for today's episode, we have on the show TJ, better known as Talks with TJ on YouTube, where she talks about sneakers, fashion, fitness, finances, and everything in between. Welcome to the show, TJ.
Thank you so much, Sean, for having me on. Very excited and appreciative to be on with you right now.
So how's everything going with you?
It's going good. It's really busy, but that's usually what happens when, of course, you work like an actual full-time career and you do a lot of things creatively on the side, but I have zero complaints. Never really bored, never any downtime, and just always trying different things. So it's going really good.
Yeah, I'm in that exact same space, juggling full-time job, but still doing the YouTube thing, and then now this podcast. But like you said, it's fun. So I usually start things off just talking about what shoes you've been wearing the past week or two. And like I noticed, like you must have a pretty big collection. I'm looking behind you right now. It seems like it's a pretty massive collection. So care to share with our listeners what you've been wearing?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of size, like I have friends that have way bigger collections. I'm probably still considered like the baby collection of all of my friends. But lately, just based on some recent pickups, like the Jordan MA2 is a shoe I fell in love with the second I saw it, and then finally able to have it on foot. I picked up the University Blue and the gold colorway, and so that's really been something that I'm wearing a lot right now. Especially being a Warriors fan, it just goes with everything that I rock in season right now. And then there was also the Women Empower colorway that dropped too. So I'm wearing that a lot. And then I'm actually trying to wear just the all white Air Force One lows more. Like I have them. It's a staple in the collection for a lot of us, but I think they get neglected because there are so many other options. So I'm trying to throw those on just a little bit more, but those are the two I really go to a lot. And then I think we all end up like diverting to slides or something. So those are probably like the top three that I'm wearing right now.
How are the MA2s? I've never worn them yet.
Think of a like broken in firm comfort, like so you're not going to sink all the way into it like you would with an Ultra Boost. And I love it, and it does have an extended toe and an extended heel, so it's meant for you to easily slip your foot in and out. And so that's really nice to be able to just slide your foot in, go. So it's one of my most comfortable shoes that I have. I think it doesn't rival the React Presto, because that's like a different level of comfort, but the MA2 is actually pretty close.
So for me, this week I've tried to incorporate a bit more variety in my collection, in my rotation. Sorry, so I wore the Shoe Gallery New Balance 580, the blue, black, and red pair. I posted that on my Instagram. I wore the Sacai LD Waffle in black, the Off-White Nike Dunk, the Michigan colorway, the Jordan 4 Toro Bravo, and the Bacon Air Max 180. So that's been my rotation for the past week.
I'm super jealous of the Sacai. That's still something. I've only been able to get one. I have the black nylon one that's sitting behind me here. So I have that one, but there are still so many other colorways I want to get of the Nike Sacai like collaborations.
Yeah, like for me, I really have to make that effort to pick like a different shoe every morning before I head to work. Otherwise, I'm gonna end up wearing like the same beaters that are at the front of my door. So
see, I work from home, so it's really difficult in terms of working kicks into rotation.
yeah.
Purposely, are you going somewhere other than like drive through or grocery pickup? Like that's when you need to kind of venture out and put on a shoe with a purpose. So working from home is great, but it definitely still has its drawbacks.
How about sneaker pickups of the week? Have you bought anything in the past week or two?
So in the past week, I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess this could still count. So you have the Air Max Structure that finally returned. I remember you did your review on that too. So I was able to see like the differences between mine and then the men's pair, because of course we just get synthetic leather. Like we don't get the actual felt or what's supposed to be suede toe box. We don't get that, but it's still like a great sneaker that returned back from 91. So I'm happy about that. And then I would probably have to say, I mean, not weak, but the closest I can have is right here. So this is the Women Empower sneaker, because I think I debuted that maybe last Sunday on the channel, or like a Sunday, or maybe close to 2 Sundays ago. So I'm waiting for another MA2 to arrive. So that is just still really slowly processing via finish line, but it's finally on the way. So it's the white and gum pair, which is women's exclusive colorways. And then we know like all the hype around the Hyper Royal one. So I have that on the way. I think that arrives like Monday.
Yeah, those structures. So I So I got a pair, like you said, and I got my wife a pair as well. And how do you feel about that leather, the wrap around the toe box?
So I'm so used to it now, like no matter what, when it comes to the differences of a GS and a men's pair, I don't take as much, I guess, offense to it as soon as I see it. No, it does make it easier in terms of cleaning because I'm not as concerned about what can drop on the shoe or what can get on the shoe, because the leather toe box is a little bit easier to clean. So I'm not upset about it. But it's better than say like the Air Max 90s in GS, unless it is that infrared colorway. A lot of times the whole toe box is leather, and I think that actually takes away from the sneaker. I hate the all leather toe box. There's no mesh in there. I just think that takes away from that OG feel from it. So I don't have an issue with it on the structure, but if it's on a 90, I do have a problem with it.
Yeah. I think I was reading on Nike Talk. I think some people actually preferred that leather wrap around like on the grade school sizes because I think they said it kept the shape a bit better than the traditional suede or felt. So I don't know. Take that for what it is.
Yeah, no, I could understand that because depending on like the older models, let's say of like a Air Max 1, I know I've seen some collectors try and reshape and remold it so it is more of that really old school like shape that it used to have. So I could totally get that. Yeah, if it's just mostly suede around the outside, you may not have as much control over how that ages over time.
So for me, it's been a pretty light week, all things considered. I got a pair of the Lego and Adidas Ultra Boost. Have you seen those?
Have seen those. Yeah, I thought that was a fun collaboration. I think I will give Adidas that when it comes to collaborations that either pull at like nostalgia of just really fun games and times in our lives. They hit the mark on that because I know they had that and then also the what was it, the Star Wars collection that came out. So I think they actually do really well there.
Yeah, like I'm not a huge Lego guy myself, but I think the execution on that collaboration was top notch. So aside from that, the Adidas Canada family sent me over the Sean Wotherspoon ZX 8000s. Those ones just dropped today when we're the day that we're recording this. They're interesting. Like I think they're they're definitely a head turner. Let's leave it at that. And same as you, I got the Air Jordan 1 Hyper Royals as well. So those ones are definitely one of the cleanest so far of this year.
So when it comes to Sean's collaborations, you know, of course, the 197 with Nike is a grail at this point status for a lot of us. So that's still on my wish list. Asics, I liked what he did there. I just don't like him moving over to his team. Just has not hit home for me at all. And not even that I buy Adidas. It's just never really something I focus on. But I can appreciate really good collabs, but like I have just not felt it when it.
Yeah, the opinion's pretty split out there. I feel like a lot of hardcore Adidas guys like it because it's just the ZX 8000 model. I don't know, but there's a lot of people that definitely don't like it as well. But you know,
I'm one of the latter, but yeah, when it comes to the Hyper Royal, there's I think more hype, more anticipation around that than even the University Blue one. And that's probably the case because if you're like me, you were the person that has a sneaker regret because I passed on the Turbo Green one when it dropped. And remember that was still available, like even after release day, it was available for at least a weekend or a few weeks. And I didn't pick it up. And you know, that regret hit about a month later, and then prices started to slowly climb up. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll eventually go back forward. And when I finally made the choice to go back, you know, my size was minimum like 450, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm really lucky that based on like my creative work here in this space, a brand saw a lot of value in that. So we partnered up for a few drops. So one was the University Blue that they secured for me, and the other one is the Hyper Royal 1. So the stress of picking those up is gone. But yeah, I didn't want to make that mistake twice. Like, oh yeah, passed on that, don't pass on this one.
honestly though, I think the Hyper Royals are the nicer of the two. So at least you have that one.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. I think it's better. I just think it's more versatile to wear. Like in terms of the fact that if people see it in hand, first off, it is a little bit darker than what you see on pictures online. And if you think of like faded, really light denim, that's kind of what it reminds me of. So you compare it with a ton of different pants. Like some people probably didn't go for the turbo green because they don't feel comfortable coordinating the green with a lot of other things in their closet.
let's talk a bit about your background. So I've seen your channel for the past couple years now, but I don't really know about how you started, what got you into sneakers and all that stuff. So if you could share a little bit with our listeners, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in a kick since I was really little. Sports was always my thing. I was never the girl that wanted to play with anything that didn't involve like sports, whether it was football, basketball, soccer, didn't matter. And so growing up, so sports focused, it meant that whatever my favorite athlete was wearing at the time, or I'm watching, a game on TV, I wanted what they had on. And then playing basketball, there was a girl I just absolutely loved and adored, and really, she was kind of that role model for me. And she was heavy into Jordans, and her uncles would spoil her rotten with every Jordan that came out because she was a stellar student athlete. So, they were like, "Of course, we'll spoil you. You do great in school, you do great on the court." And I would go over and hang out with her. And because we were like right around the same sneaker size, she would actually let me wear some of her shoes. And then when she had the Concord 11, so that was a sneaker. If anybody was like ever curious, that's a sneaker that made me dive all in into collecting a whole lot. And my mom helped cultivate it because she was really athletic in school too, and she loves sneakers and just comfort. Like she has a wide array of shoes, but she would always actually like support me wanting sneakers. So I remember like she would actually go like some of the times where I would circle the East Bay magazine, and I'm like, hey, I would like slide that over to her on the dinner table. She would actually go and order some of the pairs that I wanted in there, whether it was, birthday, Christmas, or like brand new basketball season. She would do that. So I actually grew up wearing a whole array of brands. I think people only think that I wear only Nike or only Jordan, but that's not the case. Like I actually grew up wearing Adidas, Puma, Reebok, K-Swiss. I had a lot of different Iversons, Jordans, of course, and then Nike. So I had a whole array of sneakers and different, colors of Timberland. So I grew up loving a lot of different things. I always grew up with my style kind of going hand in hand with what was going on in sports. And that didn't really change because I played at least my first year in college. And then I've just always been about comfort. I've always had that tomboy style, and it's nice to see now when I go, I'm within, I guess, kind of fashion and sneakers now in this space. Streetwear really allows me to embrace that. So you can see tons of girls like, hey, we can have our hair done, we can have our nails done regularly, but we're probably going to go to the boys section and have all of his clothes on. And then for the channel, so I originally started my channel, it was like back in 2016, and it was only finance focused.
I saw that. Yeah.
Only finance focused. And then I took a break. And I believe like in 2017, I actually wrote like a budgeting ebook because I was always on Twitter helping different friends like, hey, you should try this in terms of managing your money, because they would always wonder like, I'm stressed out and I'm in my 20s and I'm trying to live life, but take care of the responsibilities and do fun things. And you don't ever seem stressed out about it. And I'm like, well, I can deal with stress sometimes when things happen, but I'm like, I just have a budget. So I know where my money is going. I plan ahead. And they were, they would encourage me like, hey, you should just continue to share this. And then one of my friends, Lexi, she said, you just put it in why don't you just write an ebook? And I'm like, nobody's going to read that. And she's like, just do it. So I did it, and I made the ebook free. So I wrote the ebook because it's pretty short. It's like 40 some pages. I wrote it in 2 weeks, and I released it, I believe, like right around Christmas of 2017. And then a few months later, April 2018, I finally decided to just start my channel because she's like, you are really great just in terms of talking with people. I think having it on video and maybe audio, people will connect with it that way. Maybe if they're hearing you talk about it and you share your love of other things. And I'm like, you know what? I watch a lot of sneaker YouTube content, and maybe young adults will connect with me through sneakers. And that's really where it kicked off, April of 2018. So here we are 3 years later, and I still try to incorporate a lot of different money management concepts into my videos, especially with the fact that it is difficult now. Like we're almost having to plan to pay resale. If you think it's going to be really difficult, like budget an extra amount, budget an extra 100 or extra $150 if you may have to pay that, just so it's not a shock to your system. Because if you're not expecting it, it could then derail everything else you're trying to do for the month. So we have to be a little bit more cautious, I think, with planning.
I think that's a really important topic in sneaker culture that you touched on, the whole budgeting aspect, which is something not a lot of people talk about, especially creators on YouTube. Like, honestly, I think your channel might be the first that I've seen, at least, that talks about spending responsibly and setting budgets and playing within your means. And I think that's very important. So kudos to you for lending your expertise on that. So I want to ask, like, is your background in finance, or like, where did this all come from?
So I will say this. I will give credit to Sneaker Life, aka Mike the Compass, because he actually does touch on that from time to time. And that actually has helped me to continue to know, like, hey, this is the good content that should be out there. So shout out to Mike for that. Yeah, my background is in finance. So I received my bachelor's in finance, and then my master's is technically in sustainable business administration. So my dissertation was literally in how to write, how to execute an implementation plan of something. And so that's pretty much all a budget is you trying to implement, a plan for how you're going to spend your money. I didn't want to go the traditional finance route though. Like I didn't want to go and work at an investment bank or take the Series 7 and do that. Like that didn't excite me. More so, I guess financial counseling does, but that's not what I went into. I'm a sales analyst behind the scenes for like a Fortune 100 company. So I do that, but it's just always fun for me to kind of open people's minds up that like people think the budget is like a bad word. They think the B word is terribly bad. And I'm like, no, like if you have a budget and let's say you have a line item that's like sneakers, clothes, going out, and you set that amount there and it's good to go, I'm like, you can spend that without guilt. Like you can, if you're budgeting for 4 pairs of sneakers, and I mean, you're lucky as heck if you can get those sneakers for retail right now. But if you budget for that and everything else is taken care of for the month, you can buy those 4 sneakers with zero like guilt.
My background's also in accounting and finance, and I've never, put it this way, I've never considered merging like my real life day job and those skills with my passion, which is sneakers. And the fact that you can find like that middle ground to incorporate both is really, really good.
Yeah, thank you. It is interesting, I'll say, because I didn't realize, and I guess some of my content has shifted over time to not necessarily lift the veil up, because it's not as if any of the creators are just like, lying or malicious towards any of their viewers, because I consume a lot of this content myself. I like a lot of the content that people put out that are peers of mine, but I think viewers or even aspiring creators may have a misconception based on what road you may go down of what it takes financially, because a lot of young adults, because we have younger kids that may watch us, let's say 13 to 17. So it's not that they're necessarily earning a lot of income, and they may see us buy shoe after shoe after shoe. And it may not hit home for them that either we're being really smart with our money or we're being really reckless with it, which means we have a plan of how we're paying for this and it's responsible, or we're probably racking up like a lot of credit card debt. And, I don't want kids to get an idea that, oh, this is just easy to do. Like, no, if you want to go the route of somebody that is trying to show every shoe and it's an early sneaker, you're going to pay more than retail. You're going to pay resale. And then that's a really high amount of buying, which means if you don't have your finances in order, like it could cripple you. And that is not the road you want to go down. Like this should be fun. It should be a creative outlet. It should still be passionate for you at the end of the day. So a passion should not put you in the poorhouse.
100%. I think you touched on something extremely important, which is I feel like a lot of people kind of get it twisted in terms of like why they got into it in the first place. So I think you posted a video about, it was something along the lines of like, are you buying the shoes for like the views and to get like fame, or are you buying it because you actually like the shoe and that's what you're passionate about? And I thought that video was really, really interesting.
I started just, when you observe, and I've observed a few videos, and, there's sometimes by, larger creators and smaller creators. I can see smaller creators sometimes get really frustrated where they're putting in lots of work, or maybe they've dumped in a lot of capital to start their channel because they really, want to go all in on being a sneaker YouTuber. And like, I respect that. If that's your aspiration to grow your channel to where it's your main source of income and this is your full-time job, like I support that. Being a YouTuber is a legitimate career, just like any other careers in the workforce. But if you are chasing the dollar, which means you're chasing the views, I just think it's a quick way to set yourself up for frustration, because one, you can't control like viewers. You can't control what they want to see and what they don't want to see, or what they're going to gravitate towards. So if you're just trying to get as many views, it probably means you're going after as many shoes as you possibly can. And for me, first off, every shoe does not look good. So you can't tell me every shoe you throw up in front of a camera is, oh my God, this is fire, this is dope, which is like usually the vernacular they stick to. Like, is it anything else besides fire or dope? That's It's a pet peeve of mine, but they'll chase the views by buying every single sneaker. And so if you're buying every shoe, first off, it's a lot of shoes that are coming out. So you're running around like crazy, or you're trying to have a plug somewhere that can get you all of these shoes. You're paying a lot of money. You're rushing to get the shoes out. And then as release dates change, as things go out of stock, as things get pushed back, that your content is dictated by all of that. And so it's a huge ball of stress. It's a huge ball, probably, of frustration. And I think, when they're doing that also, let's be honest, some of them aren't keeping the shoe. Like, it's up on camera and then it's resold immediately. And you can almost tell that because they're not putting the sneaker on foot anymore. Like, there are so many creators, they never put the shoe on foot anymore. And I think not even doing that probably creates a disconnect. And so it's not about, oh, I'm excited about a shoe. It's like the shoe is just the next task to cross off my list. And if they have difficulty crossing it off their list, I just think, it becomes something they're not even happy doing anymore. And I'm like, again, this should be fun. So now you run yourself into the ground because you are buying for views. You're not buying for you anymore. I just think that's a dangerous road to go down.
Yeah. And I think even beyond just YouTubers and like influencers in general, I think a lot of the people in the sneaker community in general these days, I feel like a lot of them are just chasing that high of being able to obtain the shoe more so than the fact that they actually want it. Because you'll see time and time again, people go crazy for the next hype shoe, and then let's say they do get it, and then all these sneaker blogs and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, they're promoting like the next big shoe, and then all of a sudden they don't really care about those, and then they resell them, and then they're all in on this whatever's coming out next week.
Yeah, it fades. Like, think about how insane the craze was for the Mocha 1, right? Like, first off, everyone and their mom had their shoe beforehand. So there was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of hype about it. It was a good looking shoe. We know some of the hype was based off the Travis Scott one, but that's fine. It is what it is. And everyone just revolved, like everything, all the conversation revolved around that shoe. Do you hold? Do you sell? What's going to happen with it? And then that craze started all over again, with Trophy Room. And now the craze started all over again with the UNC one. And now it's the Hyper Royal one. So there's always going to be a new shoe. And because I think people become so detached from, really caring about the shoe, they just need to have access. They just need to have the shoe. Yeah, they're moved on to the next one. Like, long before they're done with the video of editing the video and posting it for the current shoe, they have to move on to the next one. So it's not chasing a shoe because you really want it. You're at the mercy of, hey, who's going to hype up the next what? And with the pace of shoes coming out, like, it's hard to keep up at some point.
Yeah, it almost feels like it's like a race sometimes of who can publish the content first, and that's one of the points I want to make and ask you. So I've noticed a lot of creators on YouTube, they're making videos on these super hype shoes, and they're getting the pairs really, really, really early. And I'm just going through the comments, and there's people saying, oh, those must be UAs, those must be fakes and stuff like that. So whether they are or they aren't, like, what are your thoughts on, possibly going down that route of UA just to get like the initial wave of views for your videos?
So just in terms of UAs, like, if your choice is to wear a UA, like if you want to spend your money on that, I have zero problem. I don't care. Same way, like I wouldn't care if somebody went and spent $2,000, right, resale on a shoe. That's your money. It's not affecting me at all. My only thing with UAs is don't ever try and sell it as an authentic shoe, and it's not, because I think that's just malicious, and it's not being truthful in any way. So that's not operating in good faith. For some, I've definitely seen those comments, and I have some friends that are able to get shoes really early. Now I can only speak for the ones that I know. They are paying big money to get the shoe early. Like, you can have an inside source. Like, these shoes are in the country way before they're ever released. So you can get the shoe up front. You're just going to have to pay an arm and a leg for that. And people aren't always open to understanding that people may have to dish out a lot of money to get the content out, because to them, it makes sense to spend that money to get the content out to you. And you can see them when they go into certain boutiques, or even where they order from. Like, I know Seth Fowler literally went into a store. I think he was doing a collaboration with Tom Stefaniak, and he went into a store and paid like $1,000, or like north of $1,000 to get a shoe. And Tom's like, "Are you crazy?" And he's like, "No, man, I gotta get this content out." And I'm like, you know what? When you're that big, and that really is like, you have to stay on pace with everything. I get it. Like that's the place that that Seth is in, and he may have to pay big money for that shoe. But I think it just may also be what maybe how people perceive that content creator of if they think it's fake or if they think it's a UA. I'm not going to say there aren't probably people that buy UAs to get the shoe out early. Again, if that's the route they want to take, like fine, because UAs are really, really close to the authentics these days that you may not be able to tell the difference just on camera. But I don't know. It's just not that deep to me to try to get a UA just to get the content out fast. Like I get it. The way you go to market in anything, be the first, be the best in terms of quality, or be super unique. So a lot of people are just trying to be the first on YouTube to be able to have something out. So they're literally like doing it by any means necessary sometimes.
Yeah, and like you, I personally have no issue if someone wants to go the UA route, because again, like that's your money and you choose what you want to do with it. But yeah, it's pretty much like you said, like it's almost like a cost of business.
Yeah. So I think creators have to be mindful. What's the current ROI you're getting back on the videos, for what you're spending on a shoe? So, for example, if we spend just retail on a shoe and say that's like, for me, it could be 140 to 150 or something. So for a guy, it's probably 190, 200 US dollars. What are you getting back? Because we can all see, in studio what that video made us. And so, truthfully, for a lot of us, unless you get tons of views, you may not even make back on that video what you bought for the shoe, what you paid for the shoe. So, for somebody that is as large as Seth, like he may actually make that back in his videos.
Oh, for sure.
Get a high volume of us watching. Like I always tune in. It doesn't matter if I want the shoe or not. I end up tuning into the content because it's always, clear, concise, and I like the breakdowns of it. But for others, I always think like, what's the ROI? Like you spent so much more than retail on the shoe. Did you make that back? And if you didn't, for a lot of them, I think that's why the shoe gets resold immediately, because they know the video isn't going to make them back that money, but they need the views to continue, growing their YouTube channel.
Yeah, interesting topic. I mean, there's no really right or wrong to it. Just thought it would be interesting to get your perspective on it.
It's really subjective, so that's always interesting to me. Like people will argue to like know, like to the ends of the earth about it, and I'm like, sneakers are subjective. Like I truly don't care. Like whatever you have in your collection, awesome. Like if it works for you, let it work for you. It's not affecting me at all. I'm not upset. I'm not hurt by it.
To springboard off your point about not caring what people have to say, this is like the last question I wanted to ask you, and it's something that came to mind after I saw your Instagram story. So you had posted, for the listeners that don't know the context, so TJ had posted a story. It was a screenshot of her YouTube comments, and it was some guy basically trying to correct you, insinuating that I think that your pair was fake because it was different. The grade school version is different from the men's version, and he was under the assumption that all the pairs should look like the men's version. So my question for you is, as a female YouTube creator, what are the main challenges that you've encountered over the years doing your videos?
So that's probably one of the main general ones, is your knowledge or your validity in this space will be questioned to no end. So I think as a woman, you almost just have to be prepared for that. And it can be questioned in a number of ways. Like a lot of women will be questioned that, oh, your boyfriend or whoever you're with, like got you into shoes. And it's like, no, we could have gotten into shoes on our own accord. Like I participated in a sport. Nobody else played a sport for me. Like I was the person in those shoes. So that's what got me into it. So they'll think that you got into shoes because of, a boyfriend or a husband or a brother. That's usually a big assumption. That's the only reason you know anything about shoes. Another one is that you don't have knowledge of shoes at all. And so it's kind of similar like to women in sports, where they'll start grilling you. When did this retro come out? And what championship did Jordan win this shoe in? And they'll just go down this rabbit hole. And it's like, do you give this same like third degree questioning to men? Because I don't see you doing it on their page, or on their channel. So you'll deal with a lot of that. And I realized actually years back. So she got Kicks. I don't know if you remember her channel.
Yep.
Heavy into sneakers. Like she was a booming channel a while back before she switched over to gaming. And I remember I had to defend her in the comments one day because she was going through her Jordan collection and she pulled out, I want to say like the white cement 4s, and it might have been like the 2012 or 2016 pair. And the guy was saying like, oh, those are fake, like based on some element of the shoe, and I don't know if it was the production date or something, whatever it was, and it might have been even been the bottom sole. Like a lot of men, if they're the ones that actually are knowledgeable, the bottom sole on threes or fours can be vastly different on grade school than on men's pairs. That's always been the case. Like it won't always, like the Nike and Jordan on the bottom sole is not always going to be the same. And he questioned, like, I remember a guy questioned her shoe, and I literally went and got my pair. And I'm like, no, this is what a grade school pair looks like. Her pair isn't fake. Like, don't attack her that way with that assumption. And so that's exactly what this guy chose to do. And it was on a video so far back. So it was for the Jordan 3 Unite, which was the Chi-Town pair, the all red pair around, All-Star weekend last year in Chicago, or 2 years ago in Chicago. And so I showed the pair in store because we already had it for Kids Foot Locker and we had clothing. So I was hoping, lay out fits that we were going to put on the mannequins, like all of this. So I decided to get video to put up on the channel. And it's, mind you, it is a dead stock shoe from Foot Locker sent by Nike that I pulled out of the shipment box myself. And I'm just showing the shoe. It's got laces still attached to it. And he goes, the tongue is sticking up too high. And he points out all these other things. That's fake, sweetheart. I would get your money back. And I'm like, hey, I didn't pay for this shoe. I don't know how that went over your head, but at no point did I pay for this shoe. At no point did I have the shoe on foot. It wasn't a sneaker that I wanted. I'm literally holding a factory pair, like from Nike, in my hand, and you're somehow calling this fake. Oh, and you're trying to legit check a pair of sneakers, but you don't understand there's a difference between GS and men. And like, that's a common thing that you'll deal with as a woman. Like boxes are another thing that men will check me on. And like, I'll show a box and they're like, that's not the right box. And I'm like, you're right. It's a GS sneaker. I find out there are more men less knowledgeable than I ever thought. Because to me, if you're going to be knowledgeable in the game, you should know that GS and men's pairs are not made 1-to-1. Like materials are different. What's suede on yours may be synthetic leather on mine. The hang tag on yours, not even an option for me. So it's insane that men will always question a woman's knowledge in this space. They won't give that same energy to a man. And it's unfortunate. Because it's been going on for years and I still just don't see it stopping. But I do think it's something that might hold certain women back from being more out there within this space, because you're going to deal with a lot of, criticism that is senseless and doesn't make sense. Now, if you're judging me on something and I'm legitimately wrong, I don't have an issue admitting to that. Like, I don't know everything. I've had, I think when one of the 13s came out, the Playground 13, and, it touched on all of the different teams that I think Jordan played against in championships. And so somebody helped fill in all the teams because I think I forgot a few. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that, because clearly I missed that element in my video. That's fine. But some men just want to like attack you for empty reasons.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, so like you said, YouTube, there's haters and trolls everywhere. And I'm sure you probably get it at a worse level than I do, but like honestly, no, it gets to me. Like I try not to take it personally, and you just try to brush it off. But how do you decide, like, when do you engage with someone who's obviously trying to bring you down versus just either deleting the comment or ignoring them and just moving on with your day?
So if it's something that is just like super hateful, like what we know, kind of that darker space that it's coming from, I'll do you and I a favor. I'll just hide you from the channel. Because to me, if you dislike me that much, I'm going to do you a favor. Like, you should never consume content. You should never have to deal with somebody you don't like. So if you clearly don't like me, I'm just going to hide you from the channel. That way I don't pop up in your feed. You don't ever have to worry about me again. Like, I'm doing you a favor. If it's someone that's just making an assumption, and it's not really, I don't think it's coming from a hateful place. Maybe they're just trying to be a smart ass. I just take a laughing approach at it now. I'll either laugh at them and say, that's hilarious. Like, thank you. I needed to laugh. And I think it pisses them off too when I do that. I passed on the, Raging Bull 5, the new one, just re-released again. I wanted the shoe in the beginning of the year. As we got closer, I was just like, no, like, I don't even want to try for it. And like, for me, if I'm not all in on a shoe, I might as well leave it for somebody else in the market to try and get it, unless I'm trying for a friend. And so one guy commented, if you're broke, just say that. Don't use it as an excuse to pass on a sneaker. And I'm like, I have a whole series on my channel where I show you the $1,000 sneaker I could have bought aside from all the other stuff I bought during the month, but instead I'm paying student loans, and I don't have to pay those student loans right now because they're in forbearance. So with the government and COVID. So that was just really interesting. I was like, this is the laugh I needed for the day. Like, never would I ever have someone say, like, if you're just broke. Okay. I'm like, you had to dig deep for that one. So I'll just always laugh. I'll laugh it off. And for some, if I'm just not in the mood, I'll just like literally throw them the peace sign emoji, and I'll just keep going, because for some, they like want to engage back and forth. And to me, they just need attention. Like, I always assume you're just not getting attention in life. And maybe you just want me to pay you attention that day. Like this is the channel you decided to go in on. Or somebody will be like, this channel is trash. And I'm like, you're right, it is trash. Like, you should definitely go watch something else. Like, they don't really know what to respond back. So they, of course, say something like, oh, you're stupid. And I'm like, you're right. You should not watch something you think is stupid. Like, I think you have to just learn, take all of the good compliments, because we get them clearly. Like, take all of those with a grain of salt, and take the bad ones equally with a grain of salt. So like, as much as I love and adore the positive comments I get, the support I get, because I get tons of it on my channel. It's a great community, but I am fully aware, they love the brand of me that they're seeing, and that's usually what they're getting, because they're only ever getting like 8 to 10 minutes of us. So they love the brand of us, of what they're seeing. If at any point as a creator we did something they didn't agree with, like, that admiration would turn to degradation in a second.
Oh,
so
totally.
No, they love us now. I get that love could always turn. So it's like, hey, I appreciate you, but I'm never going to get too high on your support, because it also means I'll never take the negative comments as deeply either. And I think that's helped me go through and be indifferent to a lot. So like, I can appreciate all of the love that comes. I understand, though, you can't have good without bad. So you're going to have people criticize you, because it's just the internet and we've chosen to put ourselves out there. But I would say never, ever take any of it to heart. Like, anybody that chooses to comment something negative, that is truly based on them. Like, whatever they are dealing with, it doesn't have anything to do with you. So like, if somebody's aspiring to do this and you get like a negative comment, like, don't take any of it personal at all.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, when it's legitimate criticism and it gives us areas to improve on, then I'll totally accept that criticism and try to become better at what I do. But when it's just mindless trolling and hate, I think the best recipe sometimes is just kill them with kindness, and they don't really know how to react. But
And I don't think they get, like, depending on where your channel is or who you've ever, collaborated with or brands you may have worked with, like, you have certain eyes that are on you. So if you're smart, you're not just going to fire back, and curse out this person out of like raw emotion. Like, that's not the way to handle it either, because you don't want to be known for that. And that person's not worth that much energy. So at one point, I remember I only just chucked up like peace sign, but then I'm like, you know what? I might have a little fun with this from time to time. And so they're like, you're trash. You're right. This channel is trash. Like, you should definitely go watch so and so. And they're like, they have no idea how to respond to that, because to me, you and I both know, if we're out at an event somewhere, they're not walking up to us to say like, your channel is trash. Like, they're not going to do that, but it's safe for them to do it like behind the keyboard.
When you have haters, I guess that's when you know you've made it. So congrats.
Maybe I learned this like a year ago. So if I have a video that goes outside of like my normal viewership, like in terms of count, that's when the most random comments come in. So like, if it's just like a run of the mill video, and I think for me, like, honestly, if it's like right around 1,000, views or something, then fine. But let's say it's an unboxing for a Jordan that everybody is kind of interested in. Or even, I guess, my hot take on why I chose not to go after a shoe. I get tons of random comments that are not viewers of mine. Like, I know they're not viewers or subscribers. And that's when crazy comments come in. That's what happened with the Raging Bull 5. And I even said it, like, I joked in the video in the beginning, and I'm like, listen, I didn't choose violence this morning, but I understand, like, this comment section may get really spicy. So everybody just be respectful, because I'll have subscribers like go at the people that attack me because they just don't like it. They don't want a woman attacked that way. So I just knew it would happen. And I remember somebody commented, and they're like, I don't think your comments are as spicy as you thought they were going to be. And I'm like, listen, keep scrolling. You'll find those comments I'm talking about. And they commented back like 5 minutes later, they're like, never mind, you have some really angry people that are in this comment section. And he's like, I don't understand why they're mad at you for having your own independent thought that you didn't want the sneaker. And I'm like, absolutely. Like, you guys criticize us when all of us hype up a sneaker, right? If every single creator is like, this is a must have shoe, then they're like,
Yep.
none of you have any taste and none of you can think for yourselves. And I'm like, okay, I don't want the shoe. How dare you say an iconic shoe is not worth having? And I'm like, sweet, I can't please any of you is really what I'm learning.
There's no winning sometimes, but that comes with the space and with the success. So take it as a compliment.
I'm like, for some people, I'm like, I would love for you all to get a channel and see what it's like to have to get up here. Because some of us jokingly, like, we already know with certain shoes, certain comments will come. But, it's like you said, we're happy to take the true criticism. I've gotten real criticism back on videos, and I'm like, I've tried to implement that as I've gone forward with editing. But for the other ones, it's just like, man, you must be really bored today.
So if you could share with our listeners, if they want to find out more about your content, check you out on YouTube and Instagram, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You can find me on YouTube almost every day. I actually post almost every day on YouTube Talks with TJ. And you can always find me posting brand new content on Instagram at talks.with.tj. I'll post tons of outfit looks, on foot looks, as well as outfit grids. I love playing around with different outfits in grid form before I actually throw them on for you guys to kind of give you an idea of how you can style a sneaker or streetwear. And then I'm also on Twitter. I'm trying to be more active related to sneakers on Twitter. So you can find me on Twitter. It's underscore talks with TJ.
Okay, I got to follow you on Twitter then. I didn't know that.
Listen, don't feel bad. I just changed my name. Like, I was hanging on to my old Twitter handle forever, for dear life. I did not want to change it over. And finally talking to some people in this space, and they're like, listen, just make the brand jump, just change it over. So everything is kind of collective. And I'm starting to engage with more sneaker conversations on there. And it's awesome because you get a lot of feedback on there.
It's amazing. If you guys want to check out the Channel 8 podcast, it's on most of your major podcast platforms, including iTunes, Podbean, and Spotify. And if you want to check out my content, my YouTube channel is youtube.com/SeanGo. My Instagram is sgo8, and on Twitter at sean.go spelt out. So TJ, thank you so much for joining us. For everyone else listening, thank you for listening. Thank you for your continued support, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thanks, guys.